Welcome to Elevate, where we celebrate all that is woman mountain biking and the gravel scene. South Africa's Candice Lil has produced her best results at UCI XCO World Cup races recently, finishing an impressive 6th at Nova Mesto and then an incredible 3rd at Val di Sole. We caught up with her to find out how she reached this world-class level and how she's dealing with it. It's great for South African ladies to hear from you personally and not on the finish of a race line.
Yeah.
Where you can put a bit more thought and not pure emotion into your answers.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. It's been hectic lately.
Yeah,
That Valdisol and even Nova Mesa, I was super emotional.
I'm sure. But we were also
I
super
do.
proud, screaming. I
Thank
don't know if
you.
you saw, I watched, it was the Nova Mesto one, where I was in the middle of Summer Place Game Reserve and we were kept stopping to wherever there was.
No way.
We kept stopping and watching on our phone, Sean and I.
I love it so much.
It was
It's
crazy.
so cool, like hearing everyone's stories, like of them also getting so excited. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, it's proper. So anyway, thanks so much, Candice. I really, really appreciate you taking the time. I mean, I know your time is precious.
No worries.
So well done on these recent
Thank
results. I
you.
mean, that's just phenomenal. I know nothing is ever an overnight success. So how long has this been coming?
Sure. I think in my case, really, really long. Yeah, I think a lot of people start out mountain biking or racing professionally and think, yeah, like in the next 5 years, I must have it all sorted and I must be achieving where I want to, well, I must be at least heading where I want to go. And for me, it was really different because I started off with a bang as a junior. I guess I think that's like a measure of talent in a way, junior. It's not really a measure of much else. So at least I knew I had it. I was in the ballpark. But it took me a lot of years of, yeah, I think things I don't regret, but basically just life happening and trying to find my feet in the world in general, with sponsors, with a place to live, in relationships, like all that stuff takes its toll, and it takes a long time to find some sort of stability. Or in my case, it has. And I would say probably the last 6 years has been a steady progression from where I was in my early 20s to where I am now, and just more and more each year building on. I want to say it's just the environment, like it's your environment that you surround yourself with or that you're in, that really gives you the power.
No, that's awesome, man. And what initially sparked your love for mountain bike racing?
Oh my
Can
gosh.
you remember? Can you remember?
I literally can't think of a time that I wasn't on a mountain bike. So I grew up on a farm in KZN, and basically since I was very, very young, I've been on a bike. Obviously, then it was just playing around with my cousins and on the farm, and it was, I mean, it's such a blessing to be able to grow up in that environment because we could just go and ride our bikes wherever. But obviously, then in school, I was doing a lot of other sports. I was just a sporty person in general. I was on a swimming scholarship in high school. But the mountain biking was always something that I loved most and that I did on the side until I was like out of school, pretty much, I would say. I did do, um, like, let's say in high school, I would go and do swimming training, athletics training, and then still get on my bike. Like, I had so much energy to go on my bike. And I would always do like the local races throughout on the weekends. So I think it's always just been my happy place. Like it's been my, no matter what I was doing, it's always been there in some form or other.
I find that so interesting that you've got a swimming background as well. So
Yeah.
I've got a swimming background. That's where my first love was swimming.
It's a
That's
great sport
cool.
to, it's a great sport to get into, like especially I think for high school kids or kids in general. It teaches you a lot of like discipline, and I think it develops you cardiovascularly really well. And there's a cool social aspect to it as well, as much as you might not think that.
When you're out the
It's
pool.
always
Yeah.
a club and a group and you do stuff together. It's really cool.
Oh, that's so cool, man. And then looking back at those days when you first started, what advice as Candice now would you give to younger Candice?
Yeah. I mean, I would say one thing that I'm really proud of is that most of the time my love for it has remained the same. And I always say to myself, like, the day I lose my love for it is the day like something's wrong and something must change. Because that's always been a strength of mine throughout and probably what's kept me in it. But I think I would say on a professional side more, um, I think people often think that there's one way to do something. And especially like in a sport like mountain biking as a woman in South Africa, you looking to, well, I was looking to my peers, let's say, in Europe and comparing myself to them and their progressions and how their setups are and the teams, and all of it can be quite intimidating.
Different
And it can
ballgame.
make you feel really, yeah, inferior and that you don't belong there. And I think I would say to myself, don't spend so much time worrying about that. There's no right way to do something. Like you must make it your own. You must harness the strengths that you have. And I mean, I can see that I've done that now and it's become my greatest power. Like I'm so proud of it. And I think it's what makes me strong. Um, yeah.
Shame. And on that, thinking back, I mean, you've been in the obviously the industry for quite a while as well. What has been your biggest sacrificing, your biggest sacrifice?
I think just time, because I've been in it so long, and obviously, as I say, like it's been my greatest joy most of the time because you sacrifice for the things that you love and the things that you feel are worth it. But I would say time with family, time with friends, things like that, and also financially. Like Darren and I have pretty much. I mean, there's been times where we've literally risked everything for this. Like we had zero money. I remember a time when I thought, like, well, when I said to Darren, like, what are we going to do? We have absolutely no money in our bank account. Like, what's the way forward? What's the plan? And I think, yeah, stress like that takes its toll on you at the time, and definitely affects your performance. But I think in the end, like what I say now is that that's what's made me and us really strong to have overcome those things.
You've had some key sponsors along the way. I mean, big shout out to them.
Yes,
I mean, who's been there from the
absolutely.
beginning?
Yeah, I mean, I can easily mention my current sponsors, but there's also been people that have supported me before that. So there's so many people to mention, but like in the last few years, I think it's really been massive to have support from South Africa, such amazing South
And
African brands, mostly South African brands.
it's not one big sponsor. You've got a whole lot of small
I've got
sponsors.
lots of little sponsors. I mean, Seattle Coffee Company's been amazing. I've been with them for the last few years. E4's a new sponsor that's come on board this year, and hopefully, I think, yes, we signed for 2 years, so next year as well. And then there's amazing brands like Roller and Toyota that, I mean, they support me so much, especially back home with vehicle and many other things. And just, I think, really what's most important is the relationship that I have with all of these sponsors. Like, it didn't happen overnight. And I
Mm.
think the fact that it took so long to happen has made it worthwhile in the end. So I'm sitting in the current position where I have options for professional teams next year. And Darren and I are sitting here saying,
Oh,
I don't know if it's better than what we have. And I think we're both very proud and protective of the relationships we have and people that have supported us through when I wasn't necessarily doing well, or people that believed in us as people as well and had our backs. Yeah, it's actually fascinating to be in this position because I don't think many people have faced this. I think everyone's like, as soon as you have the opportunity to get a pro contract, go for it. But like we've built something amazing, and yeah, it's not easy to let it go. I
no,
mean, other ones, King Price, Garmin, Chivita, just incredible relationships.
are you steering your own ship, I suppose?
Yeah, yeah,
So
we are.
Has its
And
pros
yeah,
and
there's
cons.
pros and cons, I guess. There's a lot of, in order to, yeah, manage or run the whole ship that we do is also a lot of work. But I think we've really gotten used to that sort of workload as well. Like it doesn't seem like, I mean, a few years ago it was massively stressful, whereas now it's like, I think the relationships are established. We know what each brand is also sort of looking for, because you have to deal with different sponsors differently. It's not like one relationship fits all. Different people are looking for different things. And yeah, I think we're just in a very, very much a sweet spot with that. And it's going to be a massive decision for us next year.
Lots of
Another
discussion.
one I want to mention is Biogen. I mean, they've been so incredible this year and last year.
Yeah, it's I find that quite fascinating as well because they're very much a South African brand, yet they're supporting you internationally, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, and I think the thing is, it was before I got any results internationally. So, I mean, this says so much about these people because they were supporting me without anything to back it with, like, yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
I'm very appreciative.
And then obviously sorry, just somebody came in. On Cheer how many sets of bibs do you have at any one time?
It's something I'm very particular about. I do not like bibs that are old at all. I've had problems with that. And I really try to make sure that my bibs or to look after them, so that they last as long as possible. But also, yeah, if I need new ones, I'm going to for sure get new. So I would say at one time, I probably have five.
Well, that's not so bad. I think
Yeah,
I've got five.
really. I mean, so I probably have more in my cupboard,
Yes.
but the ones that I'm wearing, it's five.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I've done a few events lately, so I think that's where I've picked up a few extra pairs of bibs.
Yeah.
You're like a pro now.
Nice. Love it.
Oh, that's
I
crazy.
always have my like favorite set, and then I tend to want to gravitate towards those.
And another random question, I'm always for random questions. With your long hair, do you wash it after every ride? How do you cope with long hair being an athlete?
I feel like the length that my hair is at now is a really good length for me. Like I've had both. I've had much longer hair and I've had much shorter hair. And I think this is nice because it's very easy. So you can easily tie it into a bun. Whereas if it's any shorter than this, a bun is like going all over the show and it's a mess. And if it's longer, it's really difficult to manage. So I've had Cape Epics. It's especially during stage races and stuff where you like on the limit and you tie it and now you've got this hair and it's a knot and there's mud in it and yeah, that for me it doesn't work. Whereas now I would say I like having clean hair, so I like washing my hair most days. Some days I feel like if it hasn't been that humid or I haven't sweated that much, then I won't. But inevitably on those days I end up tying it in a bun the rest of the day.
I suppose Europe is a bit better than South Africa. I mean,
It is, yeah.
and then you're 32 now or almost 32? I think.
32 young.
How many more years do you see yourself being a professional mountain biker?
This really changes over time. I think a few years ago I was like, no, when I'm 32, I'll definitely be done for sure. Paris will be the last Olympics. But obviously now things evolve and things change. And um, I've come to do some of my best results and have some of my best feelings and everything on the bike. Like there's no ways I'm giving it up that soon after really just finding the sweet. So, I mean, I would probably say like maximum another 4 years, but who knows?
That's so cool. And
I mean, I want to just enjoy the space we're in and be able to use all the years of like struggling to just find like the ultimate sweet spot now, which I kind of feel like we're getting onto. So I'll go with that as long as possible.
for your ambitions for when you finish racing?
It's something I've been thinking about recently. Darren and I have been speaking about it quite a bit because obviously he went through his retirement, and yeah, it's not always the easiest thing for a person who's been super goal driven and orientated and working super hard towards something to suddenly find your way in a new space. Um, but I think with both of our experience in racing, like it would be really sad to not pass that on in some way or another. So like this year we've already taken Tyler Jacobs on to come to World Cups with us. And our thoughts are towards being able to help um, young up and coming South Africans to find their way in Europe and to provide like a bit of a support structure and a base. And we're not sure how it's going to look exactly, but that's our thinking in the next few years.
That's very brave.
It is, but we are those people.
No,
We do things
prop,
differently.
props
And
to you.
yeah, I think it's something that's close to both of our hearts. Like for me, really, like I would feel very like I want to be able to, let's say it like this, I want to be able to pass on everything I've been through, um, so that it at least benefits someone. I don't
No,
want them to have to go through the same thing to get to where I've gotten. No, we need to start the mentorship structure. Like if I look at other countries that have been successful in mountain biking, like the Swiss or the French, you know, they have this system. They have riders that have been successful on a global international stage, and they feed it down to the youngsters. Um, and they're learning from each other, and it's like you can't just disappear out the sport because I think there's so much to gain
no, I think there's definitely
from
a space for that.
passing on.
There's
Yeah,
definitely space for that, obviously back in South Africa, where there's a desperate need for that channel
yeah,
um, for up and coming youngsters, whether it's male or female, um, which I think is lacking.
yeah,
Um, CSA, unfortunately, I don't really think they have too much capacity to fill that role. So it's going
yeah,
to have to come from private companies
yeah.
or something, you know. But I think it's talks and discussions that a few people need to have. And
Yeah, and it's new stuff, you know, like nobody really knows what the recipe is or how the best way is to structure it. And I think like, as much as it's been groundbreaking in our way of, yeah, going about my career, I think this would be the next thing. And yeah, it's a pleasure to do it if it's going to benefit someone or some people in the future for our sport.
okay, and now on to bike. Tell us about your bike, your race bike. I mean, obviously it's a
The
Canada.
race back is mint. Yo, it's so nice right now. I'm loving it. Darren's made quite a few upgrades as well over the last little while to make it lighter and faster. One cool thing about being a privateer is actually the fact that you don't have to run certain specs and wheels and, you know, things on your bike. Like you can choose. Obviously, it is a bit of a financial input, but my bike is a Cannondale Scalpel. It's the new 2024 model, which is really I've found has made a massive difference to my technical riding actually, just because of like such a much longer wheelbase and then being like a much slacker head angle as well. So going down steep stuff, especially in Europe, it's really I can tell the difference. Like it's pretty much night and day. It's got 120 suspension.
I was about to
Um,
ask, what's the suspension?
yeah, yeah. Also that makes a big difference. And then a really cool part of my bike that I love are my wheels. I have a sponsor from a company called Ride Port, and they are in Belgium. And they make super lightweight and cool wheels. Like they've made custom things for me with the SA flag, with the Olympic rings. I haven't shown those yet, but I love the cool little custom things that we're able to do.
Well, that's so cool. I mean, and it makes you feel, it gives you a more of a special feeling as well when
It
you
does.
ride.
And I mean, they've been amazing as well. They've supported me. They thought I was the coolest thing ever when I was coming like 30th in the World Cups. They're like,
Love it.
making such a big deal of me. And yeah, I mean, obviously now to get these results for these sorts of companies, it's super cool. Um, yeah, I normally run like a 32 when I'm in Europe on my chain ring because it's normally quite difficult mountain biking around here and steep. Um, yeah, what else?
Alley racing.
Yeah, there's a Alley Racing Works actually makes my chain rings as well, and they've done custom stuff for me as well, which is I just love it.
I'd love to get some pictures of those custom.
Yeah, you can do.
Oh, so maybe see if you can
Do
send
that.
them through and we can boast about it. That you've got this really cool
Yeah, I
custom.
love it.
That's brilliant. And then your third place at the XCO in Val de Sol. Is starting from the front row as much of an advantage as it seems to be?
I want to say for me, yes. I think for some other riders, it's not as much, but in my
Competitive.
personality, I'll explain.
Mental.
In my personality, I'm not someone that's like I'm actually pretty gentle. And I think for me, it was really difficult to start a few rows back. And those women are pretty wild back there. And they will run you over and cause a crash for no reason. And I think it's just like a few decisions that you have to make in a split second. And I think in a few in a row, I would back out instead of fight. And it was something I do struggle with. And I found that starting in the first row or even the second row, there's not as much of that. And obviously, if you then have a good start, you are in the front bubble. I mean, I've always said and I've always known that being in the front bubble is the easiest place to race. There's not as much chaos. Everything happens kind of like with more space. If you want to go somewhere, you just go. You don't have to try and pass 10 people and then you're braking because someone's come out in front of you. So I think it's really suited me as a person and just like my style of riding and my personality because I'm calm and I just, yeah, I do things like methodically. And I think starting from the front just makes a big difference.
Okay, and then I've got some questions written down because they're long. So
There you go.
you wouldn't have changed much in a couple of weeks, but do you think that emotionally and mentally your top four results in Val de Sol have given you a different level of racing confidence?
Yes, for sure. I think it's one of the biggest things as a rider and especially a rider coming from South Africa. Um, that feeling of, I mean, I remember like going back, I even struggled with it a few years ago in the beginning or whatever, just that inferiority complex. Like you feel that these people are so much better than you, and you know they've got all the teams and all the support, and I don't know what it is, but there is that factor, and it's something you have to overcome in whatever way. But I mean, for me, even the top six, sixth and seventh place in Novo Mesto started giving me a completely different outlook. There's nothing better than racing with confidence. And like if you prove to yourself that you can do something that you've set your mind to, or like even come close, you just get a whole bunch of confidence and a lot more belief in yourself. And you just like, I'm gonna go. Don't mind what's in the way.
Yes.
But I
That
definitely
belief,
have
that belief
changed.
in yourself, hey, I think it
Yeah.
just gives you, I
I
mean,
think it's like anything in life. It's like as soon as you have the feeling that you can actually do it, or that you come close, or that after so long of working towards something that you actually get a taste of it, you like unstoppable because you know it and you believe it like within yourself. And yeah, then the way that you make decisions and approach things after that is really different.
oh. And then obviously with your amazing results, you've had a bit more admiration and adoration on the
A
start line.
little bit.
How did that feel?
It was funny at first. Well, like I'm gonna say from the side of like Warner Brothers and Discovery and the UCI Mountain Bike World Cup side because I honestly, obviously, I watched those videos and saw what the other riders did that were like in that top eight or whatever, and I watched those videos and I never really thought that like obviously I had to believe it on some level, but to see myself in those videos or like being asked to do those videos, like in the pre-race stuff, it was just really funny. Like I don't know, I laughed. Um, but I think I have gotten a bit of experience from doing races like Cape Epic as to how to handle media. So I think that was really stood me in good stead for that. And then in terms of social media, the response on Instagram was absolutely insane. Like after, especially after my third place, even after sixth place in Nova Mesto, but after the third place, like I'm someone that really loves to give everyone time and be able to reply to every single person. But like it was probably the first time in my life where I felt that I couldn't reply to each person. I have tried, but yeah, I think in some way my story and just like the way that I've gone about my career and that it's the fact that yes, it has taken so long and like people have really gotten behind me and then to see me succeed, I think it speaks to people like on a level that they understand, like it's inspiring.
Relatable.
Like I think yes, it's relatable. And I think that's why the response has been so huge and yeah, it's touched me a lot.
And you are so down to earth. You really come across as just a normal woman, you know. It's not like you
It's
just come
so
up
funny because yes,
and you
and
are. I mean,
with all
obviously
the
I've
extra attention, yes, with all the extra attention, I'm just like I just find myself craving to just be normal again in some weeks. Like I'm like I just want to like let's say for example before Nova Mesto, I mean it sounds really silly, but like the time that I had in between training, there was probably a few things that I did every day, and that was um, look for recipes to cook because I love cooking and I love just exploring recipes and that side of things. I love doing like the Wordle and the crossword and like things like that. Um, I'm busy learning Italian a little bit because I'm staying in Italy. And these sort of things are just like what I enjoy about normal life. And obviously, in those weeks with all the extra attention, those things go out the window. And I'm just like, when can I look for recipes again? When can I do the Wordle again? Like, it's so silly.
become time
But yeah,
consuming.
yeah, it is.
Oh, no, man. And then lastly, have you had a look at the Olympic XCO course?
I
Do
have, yeah.
you think it suits you?
Yes, I do. So last year, end of the year, in September, I actually made an extra trip over to go and look at the course because they had a test event there. Um, Obviously, it's very important to see and get the data and stuff that you can practice for specifically. And I do think it's a course that suits me well. Like I initially got really excited about it because I just think it's actually a very well balanced, fair course in general. It can handle weather really well. There's a good level of technicality, like it's not stupid, but it's still challenging. And the climbs are like power climbs, which I really love. So you can find a good rhythm on the course. So I'm super excited to actually just go there and try and get the best out of it. And then, yeah, obviously there's other riders that the course will also suit, but I do, like for the first time now, believe that I'm capable of striving I'm going to strive for the win there, like for sure.
Oh, good job. We'll be supporting you all the way.
Thank you.
And
Whether it happens or not is a
oh,
different story, but I believe that you at least have to believe that you can win.
no, I think that's critical. Hey, no, that's
Yeah.
brilliant. Shame. Thanks so much for chatting to us, Candice. I really, really appreciate it. And I love hearing your stories about you enjoying cooking, and I'm grateful in the kitchen. So
Are you? I must cook for you one day.
yeah, I love.
I enjoy it so much. It's such a I don't know, like an escape for me. Like it's very therapeutic, I find.
So cool. That is really.
Yeah. Maybe that's also something I can do when I finish racing.
Oh, there we go.
So a bit more, something like that.
Darren must
Yeah.
have it.
Yeah, he does. It's like every time he walks up, because he's normally in the garage, like in the evening when I'm cooking, working on bikes and stuff. And most nights he walks up and he's like, "Yo, that smells nice." And that's what I love to hear.
Yeah, somebody who appreciates your cooking. Nothing like it.
Yeah, exactly.
Shame, man. Thanks a mil, hey?
That's fine.